My cheating fiancé and her friends tried to destroy my life, but I exposed their lies, pressed charges, and they were sent to jail. Okay, so some background, because you guys need to understand how we got here. I'm a 31-year-old male who met my ex-fiancée, a 29-year-old female, let's call her Katie, about 4 years ago at the sports bar I manage. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, manager at a sports bar, not exactly a fancy career. But I actually love my job. I started as a bartender right after college with a business degree that I never really used, lol. I worked my way up, and now I run one of the most successful locations in our chain. We do great business, have awesome regulars, and my staff actually likes working here, which is rare in this industry. Katie was this super successful real estate agent, the kind who posts those "I just sold another $1 million property" humble brags on LinkedIn every week. She came in one night with this group of friends from high school, all of them crazy successful on paper, 2 lawyers, both corporate, a doctor dermatologist, a finance executive, something with hedge funds, I don't know, and a marketing director at some big tech company. They were celebrating one of their birthdays and spent like $600 on drinks and appetizers that night. Katie kept coming back to the bar after that, usually during my shifts. We hit it off pretty quick. She loved that I could make her laugh, and I was impressed by how driven she was. Her friends, well, looking back, there were some red flags. They'd make these little comments about my job, stuff like, "Oh, it's so nice that you're happy where you are," or, "Have you ever thought about getting into corporate management?" But when you're falling for someone, you overlook that kind of stuff, you know? Things moved pretty fast after we started dating, like, fast. She practically lived at my place after 3 months, and we officially moved in together at the 1-year mark. I had this nice 2-bedroom apartment in one of those modern buildings downtown. Nothing super fancy, but it had a doorman and security cameras, which becomes really important later in this story. The apartment was in my name since I had better credit and had been in the building for a few years already. Life was good for a while. Katie was killing it in real estate. She actually made more than double what I made, which her friends never let me forget, lol. But we were happy. I was moving up at work, got promoted to general manager, then got put in charge of training new managers at other locations. Our families got along great. Her parents were this sweet older couple who treated me like a son, and my parents loved how ambitious she was. Last December, I decided to propose. I planned this whole weekend trip to this mountain resort about 3 hours away. I had it all set up. A private dinner overlooking the lake, the ring hidden in the dessert. Yeah, kind of cheesy, but she was always talking about how she wanted a story she could tell people. She said yes, obviously, and we spent the whole week celebrating and starting to plan the wedding. We were aiming for October this year. Wanted to do it before it got too cold, but after the summer wedding rush, when everything's super expensive. Katie's parents offered to pay for most of it, which was awesome of them. They put down like $40,000 in deposits for this fancy venue, catering, flowers, all that stuff. This becomes important later too. That's when things started getting weird. Katie's friend group suddenly had to be involved in every single decision about the wedding. And I mean every single decision. The color scheme had to be approved by all of them. The menu had to accommodate all their dietary preferences. The seating chart had to make sure they were all at the best table. It was exhausting, and their comments about my job got worse. They'd say stuff like, "Katie, are you sure you want the wedding at 6 p.m.? Won't OP have to work?" Or, "Maybe we should do wedding dress shopping on a Tuesday, since that's probably a slow night at a sports bar." Just constant little digs, you know? But Katie never stood up for me. She'd either laugh it off or, worse, agree with them. I started noticing other changes too. Katie was working later and later, always had these emergency showings that would pop up at weird times. She changed her phone password, started keeping it face down all the time. Classic cheating behavior, right? But I trusted her. Or I was stupid. Probably both. So, at my bar, we have this regular customer, Sarah, not her real name, obviously, who comes in for trivia nights every Wednesday with her work friends. She's been coming for years, always tips well, never causes problems. She's one of those customers you're actually happy to see walk in, you know? She works in HR or something. Super nice lady, probably mid-30s. This particular Wednesday, Sarah's acting weird as hell. She keeps looking at her phone, then at me, then back at her phone between trivia rounds. She barely talks to her friends, which isn't like her at all. She's usually super competitive and into the game. Finally, during a break, she waves me over and asks if we can talk privately. I figure maybe there's an issue with one of the other customers or something work-related. We have this small office near the kitchen where I do paperwork, so I take her there. She looks really uncomfortable, like she's about to tell me someone died. "I wasn't sure if I should tell you this," she starts, fidgeting with her phone case. "But I would want someone to tell me if it was my relationship." Turns out, Sarah's sister Jenny works at this super fancy salon downtown, the kind where haircuts cost more than my rent. That morning Katie had come in for highlights. Apparently she'd been going to Jenny for about a year, always booking appointments when I'd be at work. This time, Katie spent the entire appointment, we're talking like 2 hours, on the phone with someone she kept calling babe and baby. Jenny could hear everything because, well, when you're doing someone's hair, you're right there. Katie was laughing and making plans for some weekend getaway, talking about how her idiot fiancé, yeah, that would be me, would think she was at a real estate conference. Now I'm standing there trying to process this, right? Part of me wants to deny it. Maybe it was a girlfriend she was talking to. Some women call their friends babe, right? But Sarah's not done. She pulls out her phone and shows me this Instagram story her sister sent her. It's from this fancy restaurant about 2 towns over. Someplace called Leon or something pretentious like that. The story is posted by some random person celebrating their engagement, but in the background of their champagne toast photo, clear as day, there's Katie cuddled up with some guy in an expensive suit. This was from the previous Friday when she told me she was having a girls' night with her friends. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the phone. The timestamp on the story was 9:47 p.m. At 9:52 p.m. That same night, Katie had sent me a selfie of her at home, with face masks with her friends. She had literally staged a fake girls' night photo to cover her date. I thanked Sarah, like, what else do you say to someone who just blew up your entire life? She apologized probably 20 times, kept saying she felt terrible. I told her she did the right thing, comped her group's tab for the night, my owner is cool about stuff like that, and went back to work. I had like 5 hours left in my shift, just running on autopilot, my mind racing. Instead of confronting Katie right away, I decided to do some digging. We had this shared iPad at home that we mainly used for watching Netflix in bed. Katie had logged into her iCloud on it when her phone was getting repaired a few months back, and I guess she forgot about it. That night, after my shift, while she was sleeping at her friend's house, yeah, right, I opened the iPad. Holy love, there were hundreds of messages between her and her ex, Michael, fake name. This wasn't some random affair. They'd been hooking up at this fancy hotel near his office for months, like since February. The messages were graphic. I'll spare you the details, but it wasn't just sex stuff. They were making fun of me, planning their future together, talking about how they do it right this time. The worst part? All her friends knew. Every single one of those successful professionals was actively helping her cheat. The group chat was full of them giving her advice on how to hide it better, making jokes about my job. At least Michael can afford a real restaurant, not just bar food. Coaching her on what to say if I got suspicious. They were actually telling her to wait until after the wedding to leave me because she'd get more money in the divorce. I screenshotted everything, sent it all to my email, backed it up to my Google Drive, even took photos of the iPad screen with my phone just in case. The messages went back months. Every girls' night, every work event, every real estate conference, she was with him. And her friends weren't just covering for her, they were actively helping plan these meetups. There was even a message from the night I proposed. While I was nervously waiting for our dinner reservation, practicing my speech in my head, she was texting him, "Don't worry baby, this doesn't change anything, it's just business. You're the one I really love." I didn't sleep that night, just sat in our living room reading through 4 months of lies, trying to figure out how someone could be so cruel. How do you sleep next to someone every night, plan a future with them, while actively plotting to destroy them? The next evening when she came home from showing houses, another lie. The messages showed she'd been at his place. I was ready. I didn't yell, didn't cry, just handed her the iPad, open to their messages. So there I was, sitting in our living room when Katie came home around 7 p.m. She bounced in, all happy, talking about how she showed 3 houses today. Narrator, she did not show any houses that day. I let her ramble for a minute while she put her stuff down. She even had the nerve to ask what I wanted to do for dinner, like everything was normal. I'd spent the whole day rehearsing what I was going to say, but when the moment came, I couldn't even speak. I just handed her the iPad, already open to her messages with Michael. She tried playing it cool for about 2 seconds, going, "What am I supposed to be looking at?" Then she saw the date on the messages and literally dropped the iPad on our coffee table. You guys ever see someone's face just change, like their whole mask just drops? That's what happened. She went from confused to panicked to angry in like 5 seconds flat. She started screaming about how I invaded her privacy and had no right to look at her messages. Like seriously, that's what you're worried about? I stayed quiet, thank God for bartender experience and keeping your cool. Just kept scrolling through messages while she freaked out. I got to the ones from the night I proposed, handed her the iPad again and said, "Read that one out loud." She wouldn't. She started crying instead, but not sorry crying. This was full-on manipulation crying, you know, the type where they're trying to make you feel bad for catching them. She kept saying it was just a mistake and didn't mean anything, and how Michael was her past, but I was her future. Spoiler alert, according to the messages I'd read, I was her meal ticket until she could divorce me for more money. Here's the best part, she actually tried to blame me. She said I was emotionally unavailable because I work nights at the bar, said she was lonely, and Michael understood better because they came from similar backgrounds. Then she dropped this gem. If you hadn't gone through my private messages, we could have been happy. That's when I lost my cool a bit. Not yelling, but definitely not calm anymore. I asked her if we could have been happy while she was letting her friends plan our wedding and her divorce at the same time. I asked her how many of our special moments she'd ruined by texting him right after. Our engagement, holidays, birthdays. There were messages to him within hours of every single one. She switched tactics fast, faster than a politician during election season. Suddenly it was all but the wedding deposits. My parents already paid for everything. What will people think? Not one word about actually being sorry or loving me, just worried about money and appearances. I told her the wedding was obviously off and gave her 30 days to move out, made sure to say, as per our state's tenant laws, because I'd Googled that love during the day. Even though she wasn't on the lease, she'd lived there long enough to have tenant rights. I was pissed, not stupid. That's when she pulled out her phone. I figured she was calling her mom or something. Nope, she was texting the group chat. Remember those successful professional friends? Yeah, she was calling in the cavalry. You're going to regret this, she said, typing away. You have no idea who you're messing with. I actually laughed, like, what was this, a bad mob movie? I told her she had 30 days to get her stuff and get out, and I was going to stay at my buddy's place tonight to give her space to pack if she wanted to start now. I started packing a bag with some clothes and stuff for work tomorrow. She was still typing away on her phone, crying, but also kind of smirking. That should have been my first warning that something was really wrong. I was almost to the door when she said, "They're already on their way, you should wait to hear their side of this." Now, I'm not a small guy. I work at a bar, I know how to handle myself if things get rowdy, but something in her voice made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I decided to start recording on my phone just in case. Thank God I did. I made it about halfway to my car when I saw them pull into the parking lot, all 5 of her friends in 2 separate cars, the 2 lawyers, the finance executive, the doctor, and the marketing director. They weren't dressed for work anymore, they looked like they'd all come straight from the gym or something. And they did not look happy. So there I am in the parking lot, 5 angry women getting out of their cars, and Katie watching from our apartment balcony. My phone's recording in my pocket, again, thank God for that decision. And I'm trying to decide whether to go back inside or try to get to my car. Before I can decide, Hannah, the finance exec, starts screaming about how I'm an abusive piece of love and how they're not going to let me hurt Katie anymore. Like what? The other 4 are spreading out around me, and I realize they're trying to block my path to both my car and the building's entrance. Rachel, lawyer number 1, pulls out her phone and starts recording, saying really loudly, "We're just here to help Katie get her things safely. No one wants any violence." Meanwhile, Jessica, lawyer number 2, is texting something and grinning like this is all some big joke. The doctor, Maria, and marketing director, Ashley, are just standing there, looking nervous but trying to act tough. I keep my voice super calm, hold my hands up where they can see them and say, "I've given Katie 30 days notice, as required by law. I'm leaving for the night to give her space to pack. Please don't make this situation worse." That's when Hannah decides to get in my face. She's screaming about how they know all about my abuse, and how they are not letting Katie stay another night with a monster like me. I'm literally backing away, still got my hands up, saying, "There's security cameras everywhere, and I'm recording this. Please just let me leave." Looking back, mentioning the recording was my big mistake. Rachel immediately shouts, "He's threatening to release private recordings of Katie, get his phone." And that's when everything went completely insane. Hannah lunges for my jacket pocket where my phone is. I turn to keep her away from it, and Jessica grabs me from behind, like full-on tackles me. I'm 6 feet 1 inch, and she's maybe 5 feet 4 inches, but she played rugby in college, found that out during the trial, and knew what she was doing. I end up on the ground with Jessica trying to put me in some kind of hold, Hannah kicking me, and Rachel still love recording everything. But now she's yelling, "Stop resisting, why are you fighting back?" Maria and Ashley are just watching, looking scared but not doing anything to help. I'm trying my hardest not to fight back because I know how this looks. Big guy versus smaller women, just trying to protect my head and not hurt anyone. That's when Katie comes running out of the apartment with, "Love, I still get shaky thinking about this." Our kitchen knife set. Not just one knife, the whole love wooden block of them. She's screaming something about how I need to learn my lesson, and starts handing out knives to her friends. I'm not ashamed to admit it, I started panicking. Jessica's still got me in this hold, Hannah's kicking me, and now they've got knives. I managed to get one arm free and pull out my phone, hit the emergency SOS button. An iPhone feature. Click the power button 5 times fast, it calls 911 automatically. I start yelling, "Police are coming," as loud as I can, hoping someone in the building will hear. Rachel, still recording, shouts, "No one will believe you." And then, Jesus. Hannah stabs me, like, actually love stabs me in the arm. Not deep, because I jerked away, but enough to need 12 stitches later. There's blood everywhere, and I guess that freaks out Maria and Ashley because they start backing away. The next minute or two is a blur. I remember Katie screaming, "Finish it!" from somewhere behind me. I remember Hannah trying to stab me again while Jessica's yelling, "Hold him still!" Then there's sirens, lots of them, and suddenly the parking lot is full of cop cars. Thank love God. One of my neighbors had seen what was happening and also called 911, so they knew it was serious. Cops arrived with guns drawn, ordering everyone to drop the weapons. Hannah and Jessica try to run but don't make it far. Rachel's still recording and refusing to drop her phone until a cop tackles her. The best part? Katie standing there with a knife block, screaming about how I attacked them and they were just defending themselves. Meanwhile, I'm bleeding all over the parking lot, clearly not fighting back, and everything's on at least 3 different cameras, my phone, building security, and Rachel's dumbass live stream. The next few hours are kind of a blur. Ambulance ride, emergency room, police interviews, lots of photos of my injuries. Turns out, besides the stab wound, I had 2 broken ribs, a concussion, and basically looked like I'd gone 10 rounds with a UFC fighter. But here's the real kicker. We found out later that while I was in the ER, these idiots were at the police station, literally arguing with the cops about getting their phones back so they could delete some personal stuff. Rachel, yes, a love lawyer, actually said, "If you look at our group chat, it will be misinterpreted." The next few days after the attack were absolutely insane. I spent that first night in the ER getting stitches and treatment. Pro tip, when the nurse asks you your pain level and you say like, a 4 or 5 while having broken ribs, they just assume you're being a tough guy and give you the good painkillers anyway, lol. While I was getting patched up, this victim advocate from the DA's office shows up. She starts explaining all this legal stuff, but I'm high as a kite on whatever they gave me for pain. The one thing I remember clearly is her saying, "This is the most clear-cut case of premeditated assault I've seen in years." She had no idea how right she was. Meanwhile, Katie and her psycho squad were having their own fun night at the county jail. Found out later they were all put in separate cells because they wouldn't stop trying to coordinate their stories. Rachel, lawyer number 1, kept demanding her one phone call like this was a TV show. Jessica, lawyer number 2, tried to pull the "Do you know who I am" card. Hannah, the one who stabbed me, apparently had a full meltdown when they took her designer jacket as evidence because it had my blood on it. Here's where it gets good. Remember how I mentioned Rachel was recording everything? She was actually live streaming to their private Instagram group. The cops got a warrant for all their phones and social media. They found everything, not just the attack but months of them planning stuff like this. The group chat was a love gold mine. These sophisticated professionals had literally written out their plan: wait for Katie to provoke me into getting mad, record me being abusive, also known as defending myself, edit the videos to make me look bad, file false domestic violence charges, get me arrested and evicted from my own apartment, help Katie move in with Michael, her ex, while I was in jail, wait for the wedding date to pass, have Katie file for divorce claiming emotional distress, use the edited videos to get a bigger settlement. They had it all planned out like some kind of psycho PowerPoint presentation. There were even messages about which angles would be best for filming, and who would do what. The best part? They were using their work phones. These geniuses used their corporate phones to plan an assault. But wait, it gets better. 2 days after the attack, while I'm still in the hospital, Katie shows up at my work, starts telling my staff and customers that I'm abusive, that I attacked her friends, that everyone needs to know the truth about me. My assistant manager, shout out to Dave, you're a real one, got it all on security cameras and called the cops. She did this 3 more times before the cops finally arrested her for violating the emergency restraining order they had put in place. Each time she'd bring a different friend, Maria and Ashley, who weren't in jail, to witness her telling her story. They filmed it too, probably thinking they were gathering evidence. Spoiler alert, those videos ended up being used against them instead. Then Michael, remember him, the lawyer boyfriend, gets involved. This genius starts sending threatening emails to me and the cops who arrested his girlfriend's friends. We're talking full-on movie villain stuff. You don't know who you're dealing with, and I have friends in the DA's office, and this will all go away if you drop the charges. He sent these from his law firm email. A licensed attorney threatening a victim and law enforcement from his verified work email. The DA's office was practically salivating when they got those. About a week after the attack, their high-powered defense attorneys show up for the bail hearing, looking like they just walked off a TV show set, all confident and smug, talking about their clients' stellar reputations and community standing. The judge was this older guy, looked like he was about to fall asleep during their whole speech. Then the prosecutor stands up and just starts dropping bombs, full security footage from multiple building cameras, my phone recording, Rachel's live stream, the group chat messages, screenshots of them Googling things like how to make self-defense look real and what happens if you stab someone in self-defense, the threats from Michael, Katie's harassment at my work, medical records showing defensive, wounds only, witness statements from neighbors, the knife with Hannah's fingerprints and my DNA. The judge's face, OMG. He went from sleepy grandpa to stone-cold fury in about 2 seconds. He set their bail at $500,000 each. Hannah, Jessica, and Rachel had to surrender their passports and wear ankle monitors because they were considered flight risks. Apparently they all had international accounts and properties. Maria and Ashley, the ones who didn't participate in the actual attack, got lesser charges and lower bail but still had to wear monitors. Katie got hit with conspiracy charges and had to surrender her passport too. But the real bombshell dropped about 2 weeks later. Ashley, who had been spiraling since the attack, finally cracked. Her lawyer contacted the DA's office, saying she wanted to make a deal. Turned out, she had another group chat that the others didn't know about, where they'd been even more explicit about their plans. She had voice messages from Katie talking about how they'd practiced the attack at Maria's home gym, videos of them discussing how to make it look like self-defense, messages about how they chose my apartment specifically because they knew where the security cameras were and thought they could use the footage to their advantage. The best part? She had a video of them all celebrating at some wine bar after Katie got engaged, planning how they'd help her get a better divorce settlement by setting me up. This was from the night I proposed. While I was texting our families the happy news, they were literally planning how to destroy my life. The trial started in November, about 7 months after the attack. Those months were rough. Katie and her 2 friends who weren't in jail, Maria and Ashley, kept trying to spread lies about me around town. They made fake social media accounts to post edited clips from the attack, tried to contact my employees to dig up dirt, even showed up at my parents' house to tell their side of the story. My lawyer, provided by the DA's office because this was a criminal case, was this tiny woman in her 50s who looked like everyone's favorite aunt, but was scary as hell in court. The first thing she told me was to document everything and don't respond to any attempts at contact. So that's what I did. Every fake account, every harassment attempt, every little thing, went into a folder that just made their case worse. The trial itself was surreal. Their defense strategy was interesting. They tried claiming they were protecting Katie from an abusive relationship, despite zero evidence of abuse, and that they acted in self-defense, despite literally bringing knives to attack me. Their lawyers kept trying to paint me as this violent, controlling boyfriend because I, checks notes, caught their client cheating and asked her to move out. Like what? I had to testify for 2 full days. Their lawyers tried every trick to make me lose my cool, called me a liar, suggested I was the real abuser. Even tried to make it seem like I was homophobic, because I didn't want Katie hanging out with her friends alone, while she was cheating on me. But bartending teaches you to stay calm when people are being a-holes, and I just kept telling the truth. The prosecution's case was beautiful to watch. They had this huge TV screen set up in the courtroom, and showed everything in chronological order, security footage of them arriving at my apartment, spreading out to trap me, my phone recording of them attacking me, Rachel's live stream showing them with the knives, building security footage of the actual attack, police body cam footage of them being arrested, video of Katie harassing me at work, screenshots of their group chats planning everything, Michael's threatening emails, medical photos of my injuries, the knife with Hannah's prints and my blood. But the real star was Ashley's testimony. She'd taken the plea deal, smart move, and laid out everything. She told the jury how they'd planned this for months, how Katie had been cheating since before the engagement, but wanted to wait for the wedding because she thought she'd get more money in a divorce, how they'd actually practiced the attack at Maria's gym, planning how to make it look like self-defense. The jury's faces during her testimony were priceless. These weren't just some friends who got carried away protecting their friend. This was a calculated plan to set me up, get me arrested, and help Katie scam me in a divorce. Then Katie took the stand to defend her friends. Stupid move. Holy love, what a disaster. The prosecutor let her talk herself right into a confession. She starts out all tearful about how scared she was of me, despite zero evidence and living with me voluntarily. Then she gets mad when they show her messages planning the attack, starts yelling about how I deserved it for going through her iPad. The worst part, she accidentally mentions that Michael, remember him, the lawyer boyfriend, had helped her write the fake police report about me being abusive. On the stand, under oath. The prosecutor's eyes lit up like it was Christmas morning. Their defense fell apart after that. The jury took only 6 hours to find them guilty. Hannah, Jessica, and Rachel, the stabby squad, got convicted of attempted aggravated assault, conspiracy, and a bunch of other charges. Maria got convicted of conspiracy and accessory charges. Ashley's plea deal got her just probation since she testified. The sentencing hearing was something else. The judge was not happy, called it one of the most calculated and malicious cases he'd seen in 30 years, said their status as legal professionals made it worse because they knew what they were doing was wrong. Final sentences: Hannah, Stabby MC Staberson, 36 months in state prison. No parole for 24 months, 5 years probation after. Jessica, rugby tackle lawyer, same as Hannah. Rachel, livestream genius, same as Hannah. Maria, nervous doctor, 18 months probation, 300 hours community service. Ashley took the deal, 12 months probation, testimony against others. Katie is still waiting for her separate trial but took a plea deal. More on that in the final chapter. Michael, oh boy, wait till you hear what happened to him. They all lost their professional licenses. The lawyers got disbarred, the doctor lost her medical license, the finance exec lost all her certifications. Their fancy careers, gone. Their reputations, destroyed. Their freedom, gone for 3 years. I will update if anything happens. Thanks for your help and comments.